The Seattle Mariners have finalized their coaching staff for 2025. Joe and I will cover who the new hitting coach and assistant hitting coach is for the Seattle Mariners, and then we'll talk about the possibility of one of the Mariners' top pitching prospects being a member of the Seattle Mariners 2025 bullpen. And because it's Thanksgiving, we'll wrap it all up by talking about what we are thankful for this year. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 143 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network, available on all your favorite podcasting platforms. Be sure to give us a 5-star review, leave a like, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. And this is the R Brophy episode of the podcast, and I'm here with Joe. And Joe, happy Thanksgiving, man.
Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I'm gonna clear my throat really quick. Yeah, man. Thankful for another solid year being here with you. It was a very comforting year. The entire time, having some sort of like stability that we can just come on to and just like, I don't want to say like pour our souls into every single time, but it's been like, I'm getting ahead of myself for the final thing. I'm very thankful that I've been able to do this with you over the last 2 years. So I just want to start off by saying thank you for that. And I'm also so thankful that Edgar Martinez, he's back, baby, in a larger hitting role, like hitting coach position. A major role is, I think, how the best way to kind of describe it. And I think there's going to be a lot of positivity and just like positive emotions surrounding that from not only like the fan base, because like duh, like you got to just love 95, but also like the players. Like they showed out a lot of love for what Edgar brought to them in those final 34 games. Early returns. I mean, the Mariners were like a top 5, top 10 offense in baseball just in general. I'd say pretty easily under Edgar. Early returns, I think you're probably going to get a little bit better of an offense, probably a lot better in 2025 with him under the helm the entire season. Take any overs on Mariners season prop totals, whatever, and you can do that with BetOnline. Thank you to BetOnline for being a sponsor for the Hit It Here podcast. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your #1 source for online betting. From the earliest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch the games as they happen. With the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, NHL, and since the MLB regular season and postseason is over, free agency bets on who's going to play where will be available soon on BetOnline. Make sure you guys head to BetOnline today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline. The game starts here. Edgar Martinez has transitioned to the senior director hitting strategy role for the Seattle Mariners. I mean, I want to say it's like similar to the Brant Brown offensive coordinator, but at least we know what we're getting, I think, out of Edgar in a simplistic approach, something that a lot of the players resonated with. And yes, he's not back as the hitting coach, but it seems like the Mariners did their due diligence in finding guys that Edgar, I don't want to say like maybe he handpicked them if he was able to, but guys that feel like they align more with Edgar's philosophy. Whereas like last year, there was a lot of, I don't want to say like conflicting voices, but maybe voices that weren't really echoing the same message. Whereas the new hitting coaches that we'll get to here in a second will be able to with Edgar Martinez. Colton, I made a specific video about this that went up on Tuesday. So a lot of my thoughts are kind of out there. What are your initial, I guess, reactions on Kevin Seitzer, the new main hitting coach, and the assistant hitting coach, Bobby Magallanes, as well, both coming from the Atlanta Braves?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting if they went with guys who knew each other. Obviously, they were both with the Braves in that scenario. And Kevin Seitzer has been in the big leagues for 17 years on a coaching staff. Like, obviously, he's been around one of the best teams in baseball in the Atlanta Braves over the past, few seasons. He was there when they won the World Series. He's coached Ronald Acuna Jr. So, sure, I think that, and I have always been a proponent that the hitting coach is not as impactful as everyone makes it out to be, but clearly last year specifically, it was. And I think that adding Seitzer and Magallanes, yeah, I think that that's fine. They have coached some of the better offensive teams in all of baseball over the past, half decade or so. And I think that that's a really good addition for the Mariners. I like that they called Edgar's new position the senior director of hitting strategy and not the offensive coordinator again, because that just became a meme last year. So good call not doing that for Edgar Martinez. So basically the way that what it means is that Edgar's probably not going to travel with the team on road trips, which we kind of already knew. He doesn't want to do that. But Seitzer and Magallanes will. And then Edgar will be there for most home games, down there for like spring training and whatnot. And so I think it's good. They're able to keep Edgar around, which it's interesting because Edgar's been around.
Sure.
This isn't anything new for him. But now it's in a more official role where he will be there more often than not at home games and whatnot. And so I think it's pretty cool. The Mariners were able to find a way to keep him around. There are a few other changes here as well. Christopher Negron is moving to third base from being the Mariners' first base coach. The Mariners' first base coach will now be Eric Young Jr., who was promoted. Where was he at?
Great question.
I don't know where he.
I don't
know where he was before, but
I think the Nationals would be my guess.
I think he was in the Mariners system.
Sure, I think. Okay.
And then, so that means that Manny Acta will no longer be the Mariners' third base coach. He's transitioning to just be the bench coach for the Mariners.
Mhm.
Tony Arnrich will be staying. Trenton Blank will be staying. Danny Farquhar will be staying. Pete Woodworth, Fleming Baez, Perry Hill, etc. The big changes are obviously Seitzer and Magallanes, and then you'll see different guys on the corners for the Mariners base coaches. And also Carson Vitale, great dude. He is moving on to, I Bleav it was the Marlins.
Yeah,
He moved on to be their bench coach.
Mm-hmm. New head coaching regime there. Obviously, was Schumacher leaving. Yeah, I think a lot of the changes made to the Mariners coaching staff were met with pretty overwhelmingly positive reaction. I don't think that. I hope that there's a bit more. Like, I don't want to say like patience, because like that's not really like the right word for it. But like last year, I think a lot of us applauded the hiring of Brant Brown and like, yeah, this is a great offensive mind. But now we know kind of like where Edgar's at as far as like his role within the organization, and that like there's obviously it feels like there is a clear attention like set on getting the Mariners offense going in the right direction, right? Like that's where I think a lot of these coaching staff decisions I think feel like very positive in nature. Not to say that like say Manny Acta was he had spent his time at third base and maybe it was time for him to get moved to a different role. Like I don't want to sit here and say the Manny Acta sends from third were the reason why he got moved to the bench coach, but like also like Negron, he's been with the Mariners for quite a bit. Obviously, like whenever Scott or someone would get tossed, he would be the interim manager for that game, or just like until whatever. I know he was a finalist for the White Sox coaching job, so like that would have been kind of tough to see him go that way. But obviously, him being the third base coach, I think it's a bit bigger of a role than the first base coach. So like, how much his time with Seattle is probably ticking. Like I think he's well working on his way to being a major league manager soon, which is very exciting. But it'll also be a very sad day, I think, just because Negron I think has meant a lot to the Mariners organization. But yeah, overwhelmingly positive, I think, response to the coaching staff. And if there's one thing that maybe is like some silver lining, like if you're got a team that maybe doesn't have the biggest star powered players, having a great coaching staff can help them blossom and turn into better players than what they were before. Like they can be nurtured in that direction of becoming better ball players. And I think that's kind of the like thing that I'm recognizing with their attempts with who they brought in for the coaching staff in 2025.
Yeah, and I think we might look back on this time next year and be like, oh,
wrong.
That didn't work.
Yeah.
Like we did with Brant Brown. It's always possible.
Yeah.
But one thing that I think might work for the Mariners, Joe, is the transition of Brandon Garcia, a left-handed pitcher in the Mariners minor league system, to a spot in the Mariners 2025 bullpen. Garcia's been great for the Mariners over the past couple of years. Now, he has been in the minor leagues, and he's made last year he made 25 starts in 27 games. Good for a 2.25 ERA and 116 innings pitched. One of the better Mariners pitching prospects, a guy who really has shined ever since the Mariners picked him out of Texas A&M. It's interesting that they're talking about moving him into a reliever role, Joe, out of obviously a very successful year as a starter, but they did the same thing with Logan Evans this year. What do you think about them transitioning Garcia to that role?
I think, unlike the Logan Evans situation, that was like more out of like a necessity with Evans and like where the Mariners were at with like injuries in 2024. I don't think this is a situation where it's out of necessity. I think this is something that they're probably talking with Brandon Garcia about, like what fits best for him and how he can stay within the organization and make a positive impact. Like you're looking at a very strong lefty arm. Not to say that like Taylor Saucedo or Gabe Spire like have been not valuable left-handed starting or relieving left-handed relievers for the Mariners in the last couple of seasons, but feels like a different situation with a guy coming from the actual pipeline. Like, you drafted this guy, you developed this guy, and like Logan Evans, shot up through prospect ranks like crazy within the last like 12 to 16 months, just based on like his performance. I mean, he won like the Mariners minor league pitcher of the year, like he co-won that with Michael Morales. I know you have a bit of a gripe with it as far as you're losing a bit of starting pitching depth with Brandon Garcia by making this decision, but I also don't think it's like the end all be all. I think this is a situation where, like, if he's a reliever in 2025, you could look at him and say 3 years time, like a Zach Eflin, or like this offseason's Jeff Hoffman. Like, eventually he could go back to a larger pitching role, like being a starter again, if that situation becomes out of necessity. I don't view it as a bad thing that he's transitioning to the bullpen. And I think that with how they're kind of like tackling it, maybe it's not like overly similar to like Troy Taylor, because like I think he was always destined to be like, he was just a reliever to begin with, right? Whereas Brandon Garcia, I mean, threw legit innings in 2024 and made, like you said, 25 starts. I think it's more so just like they know that he is going to probably be MLB ready, and they want to be able to utilize him. They're just not going to be able to do that in the rotation because of how stacked the rotation currently is. I wouldn't be surprised if like they can do the same thing with Evans again if they want to, but again, it's not necessary. I think both guys can work as like swingmen, like where they can relieve if you need them to, but they can also make spot starts if you need them to. Like, I think the transition for Garcia to the pen does make a lot of sense, given the timeline on, obviously, Emerson Hancock is your 6, Logan Evans is your 7, Michael Morales is your 8. Would Brandon Garcia be your 9? What point is it in having a guy like Brandon Garcia be your 9 if you can get legitimate innings out of him in the bullpen in 2025? By like, you're holding him back, I think, by not making this move.
Yeah, and Adam Jude does mention that there's still long-term an option for him to be a starter for the Mariners, but if they want to get help out of him in 2025, then it's going to be as a reliever, unless obviously injuries take their course. We saw it not work last year with Logan Evans. They decided to transfer him back to being a starting pitcher. I think that my biggest gripe with it, right, is the Mariners pitching depth, as it stands today on Thanksgiving of 2024, isn't that good. Like, sure, you have Emerson Hancock, who has shown that he can do it. You have Logan Evans, who might be able to come up and start. We don't know yet. You have Michael Morales, who might be able to do it. We don't know yet. So taking away an option that you have in Brandon Garcia and shortening him, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because obviously it worked out great for Matt Brash, but also for every Matt Brash, you also have a Logan Evans where it didn't work. And I think in the long run, does that hurt their trade value? If you were looking to trade one of those guys, would a team value him still as a starter? Or do they then value him as a reliever? Because in college, he was mainly actually more of a reliever.
Yeah.
When you look at his stats, also, he was bad in college. Like,
so
he was
Logan
not good.
Evans.
Yeah. He had a 5.93 ERA in his 4 years at Texas, or in college. 1 year at Texas A&M, he had a 5.56 in 27 games, all of them relief outings. Yeah, he was not good as a reliever. Not to say that he won't be, because obviously, clearly, when you look at his statistics, clearly the Mariners unlocked something. When you look at his years in college, he never had an ERA below 4.32, and that was in 7 games in 2021. So it's like, But then you look at him in 2023, he had a 1.8 in 10 innings, and then a 2.25 in 116 innings. We won't know until it happens, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I do just think that taking a guy out of a position where he got pretty comfortable last year and putting him into one where he has struggled in the past might be an interesting way to. I don't know what that means for his confidence. And again, if he is to be possibly traded, what that would do for his trade value if teams value him more as a reliever than they do a starter.
I think kind of like the point that you're getting towards is how it might like affect and stunt his growth as like a pitching prospect in general. Does this hurt or help him? And we won't know until obviously he's pitching. Like, we won't know until he's actually in the games. Like you're saying, he comes out, he gets shelled, he loses confidence. He's never the same pitching prospect again. He comes out, he's electric. He's now Josh Hader for 7 years. Like, those are probably like what you're looking at, like the 100th percentile outcome and like this, like the 0 percentile outcome. Like, that's the range that it can be because of how volatile relief pitchers can be. I understand that like you're worried about the starting pitching depth. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'm as worried about it as you are. I think like you're saying Hancock is fine, like, and if they really don't want to trust Hancock and they like what they see out of Logan Evans or Michael Morales, sure, give them a chance and maybe they'll shock you just like the way Bryce Miller and Brian Wu did. Like there's a possibility that, I mean, broken clock right twice a day, like maybe the Mariners get right 3 or 4 times or the lightning strikes in the same, it's, metaphors, okay? Things like that. Maybe it can happen again. Maybe Durangelo St. just pitching in 2020. Like, there's a lot of options, okay? There's a lot of options. Whether or not the quality of depth is there, I understand your concern, but regardless, big leverage innings. Troy Taylor to Brandon Garcia to Munoz is going to feed. It's going to feed families. Garcia's getting legit leverage innings by August, okay? He's going to be nasty. He's topping out at 97. When was the last time a Mariners left-handed reliever was hitting 97, huh? Probably Gabe Spire.
I don't know if he ever threw 97, but yeah, I honestly, if that's the stack, then there's probably a problem because that means like Colin Snyder, Gregory Santos, and Matt Brash are either not performing or are hurt.
Listen, they're allowed to take strides. They're allowed to take strides in their growth.
Mm-hmm.
You're just being short-sighted.
Honestly, the final touches I want to put on this is I want the Mariners to win in 2025, and I don't care what it takes.
By any means necessary.
If that means Brandon Garcia becomes a reliever, and that means the Mariners win more games because of it, then I could care less what that does for his growth. I don't care. I want the team to win in 2025 and in 2026, and if they can do that by making Brandon Garcia a reliever, then 10 times out of 10 you do it. I just... You can't talk about it without looking at both sides of it, and it's like, it's a risk. It truly is, because it looked like he had really started to come into his own as a starting pitcher to then move him to be a reliever. Clearly, they see something there with his profile. He throws the ball hard. He's a guy who I think makes a lot of sense to come into, because he was in Double-A last year. That's usually the last stop for Mariners pitchers before they head up to the big leagues. And last year, frankly, like Gabe Spire and Taylor Saucedo didn't get the job done as lefties out of the Mariners bullpen. So if the Mariners want to add another high leverage reliever as a lefty out of the bullpen, Brandon Garcia could be it. Doesn't mean that they can't go out and get somebody instead and keep Garcia as a starting pitcher. That's certainly an option as well. But it does make me feel like maybe they're not going to focus too much on adding to the bullpen this offseason because they feel very good about their in-house options, which I think in a vacuum is fine. But I think the bullpen needs to be good next year. Oh, yeah. And if they do decide to go with the in-house options, they better get it right, because if you don't, you're in for another year like 2024.
I think the Mariners have been very lucky in how their pitching development has gone. Maybe not lucky, but like they've shown, you say it a lot. It's a phrase that you say a lot. They're very good at this. Drafting, developing, pitching, and getting the most out of guys when they need them to. I think there's a bit of luck in there. I mean, also like guys could just not pan out. Like you untap that thing and then they forget it and then it's gone. Like they should be thankful. See what I did there? That they've done so well in the pitching development department that I think that they can afford to take some of these risks like this. But Colton, it's time to get to what we're thankful for. You want to start or you want me to start? How many are we doing?
We could do like 3.
Just like going, just like riffing back and forth?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's pretty obvious. Like, I'm thankful that we have this platform as a whole. And like, the fact that I get to do this multiple times a week with my best friend is like the coolest thing in the world. Like, there was a time, because obviously there's a lot of space in between us right now. Like, you live in California, I live in Washington. There was a time where we just, because of our lot of things happening in our lives, we weren't able to talk as much. We weren't able to, hang out. And now, because we have this, we talk basically every single day, whether that be texting or on here.
Yeah.
And then we get to just chat and about what's going on in each other's lives. That's pretty sick. And then we get to bring all that, an outlet for how we feel about this stupid baseball team. It's a lot of fun, and I'm very thankful that, and so you guys, the people who watch this stuff, like the fact that you guys give us that opportunity, you guys lend us your ear for 30, 40 minutes a couple times a week to listen to what these two idiots have to say. Like, are you on this side of me?
No, nope, I'm on that. I'm on the second. Yeah.
These two idiots have to say, like, that's crazy, man. And the fact, like, and obviously the people that come up and say hi to me, whether it's at my actual day job, which always catches me off guard. By the way, I just want to tell you guys, if you guys ever find me out in the wild at my day job, like, don't be surprised if I'm like, because I'm so in a different world mentally when I'm at my day job compared to when I'm here. It's like people will be like, "Hey, are you Colt?" And I'm like, "Yeah,
Whoa.
I got a name tag, yeah." And they're like, "Do you do the Mariners podcast?" I'm like, "Dude, I was trying to sell a couch just now. What?" Yeah.
Mhm.
So I if I've ever met you at like my actual job and it seemed a little weird, that's probably why. But I appreciate you guys, and I'm the same. Any of you guys always stopping by and saying hi. It's easily one of my favorite parts about doing all of this and just being able to hang out with my best friend.
I don't want to piggyback and like say like the community, obviously. So I'll take it a different direction, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. You guys are glad that you haven't like no one's seen me at my job, right? Because one, I am I am an awkward individual when it comes to like meeting people. If I am, and I obviously like people know I work at Starbucks. It's like that's a very customer facing job where I have to be like, hi, like how's it going? Blah blah blah. If someone recognized me, I think I'd crap my pants because I'm so far away from everything. But then I'd also be like, you know who I am because why? Like to save everyone the awkward interaction and to like not have put a bad first impression like physically. I'm thankful no one's recognized me yet at my day job. Is that a fair second thing to be thankful
I
for?
think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's fair.
For like knowing me personally, like it's a little like, ugh, like maybe we don't say hi to Joe in public spaces like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. It's scary. He gets scary when he feels cornered like a dog. He's like, oh, you know.
I'll start barking. I'll start barking. I don't care. Sorry for the audio listeners.
That'd be kind of weird if you
Yeah,
started barking randomly at your job.
I've done weirder things.
That's probably true. I Bleav that. I guess third thing here, I'm just thankful for the fact that like, we get to listen. I know that the Mariners piss all of us off, right? And every single year this team disappoints. And 2024, specifically on me, took a big toll mentally on where I was at with this team. And yes, like this is the first year we're getting close to December and where I have not been like, man, I wish I could watch a baseball game right now. I haven't felt that way yet this offseason, which is weird. And normally that's not me. And so like last year took a pretty big toll on me, but the fact that we can still come on here and have meaningful conversations and like I still have that distraction 162 times a year where I can sit there and watch a baseball game, come home from work. Maybe I had a crappy day, maybe my day was great, doesn't matter because the Mariners are on. And they're either going to make it better or make it even crappier. And I just know they're going to lay into whatever I'm feeling. And I think it's cool that we all have an opportunity that even with how stupid this team is, how stupid this ownership is, we can all come together and, we all have a common love for one thing, for one baseball team, even if they're the dumbest franchise in baseball.
Whoa.
And yet here we are every single. Oh, that's true. They're not the Rockies. That's
I'm thankful they're not the Rockies, the White Sox,
the White Sox, the Angels,
the Athletics.
Maybe
too maybe too soon, but
yeah, it's kind of out of pocket, bro.
My bad. I mean,
you got anything else?
Well, what, you just think I'm like void of being thankful for things?
I don't know.
I don't know. Like I think there's a plentiful of things that I could be thankful for, like that I have a roof over my head, etc. Just like general life things that I'm in a spot to where, like you kind of said already, that like I can be in this space for multiple times a week and not really have to like overly stress about like what tomorrow looks like. I'm very thankful for the opportunity that I've been given with just like my day-to-day life and the people around me that support me. I'm just very glad that I'm here and I'm here with everybody else, and that is what kind of keeps motivating me to keep going, because without it's a the cogs in the engine, we're all keeping each other kind of moving forward in a situation where you're one cog, I'm the other, and like we keep moving forward kind of a thing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That was my cog.
That was genuinely off rip great cog.
The audio listeners are so confused.
He made a movement like a cog, if you can't imagine. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thankful that I'm here. And I'm here with you.
Oh my god, I'm gonna blush live on cam. Well, you know what I'm thankful for, Joe? Is the people that sent us why they're a fan. If you guys don't follow us on Twitter or on Blue Sky, I posted a thing over there that I said, "Hey, let us know, why you're a Mariners fan." Now, I was hoping people would send them as videos so we could just like put it right in there. But most people emailed them to us using the subject line "Why I'm a fan" or "Why I fan." So if you guys happen to want to do that, be sure to send us like a 2 to 3 minute video clip of why you are a Mariners fan. Or I mean, you can send it as an email if you want, but if it's a video, I'll be much happier. But I'm still very thankful for you guys that did send it in. So I want to read one today because I do want to highlight over the off season a lot of the people that are in this community. And I think some of them are really interesting. People like from all walks of life that have become Mariners fans. So I'm going to read this. I'm probably going to stumble over words. Don't make fun of me. Here we go.
We're not gonna popcorn it like back. No, all right.
That's weird. What is this, elementary school?
Yeah.
You can read next week's. Why I fan. This is from Kip Kniskern. If I mess that up, Kip, I'm sorry. I'm just going to call you Kip. He says, the excitement of a new baseball team hit right in my sweet spot, and the Seattle Pilots played their infamous one and only season when I was 8 years old. I read everything I could about the Pilots, about my favorite players Tommy Harper and Ray Oyler, and even got to go to 2 games. One was Bat Day, and I still have my almost full-size Mike Hegan bat. I have always been a baseball fan, though, and followed the Dodgers before and after the Pilots year. And one of my first memories is watching on a small oval black and white TV as Mickey Mantle hit a home run on some Saturday afternoon game. That is so sick.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I've followed the Mariners since well before Game 1, and I've loved a lot of teams over the years but that never came close to the playoffs. I still love the Mariners, am happy and lucky to have them, but it's not only blind fandom that makes me think the future is bright. Can't wait for trades, then spring training, and baseball once again. And this is Kip, who is from Northeast Washington. He grew up in Des Moines, about 15 miles south of the ballpark. So this is the Kip episode of the Hit It Here podcast, episode 143. Thank you so much, Kip, for sending that in. This was presented by Bet Online. We appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.